The sweeping landscapes, fierce battles, and tragic romance of The Last of the Mohicans made it one of the most unforgettable films of the 1990s. Michael Mann's epic captured the spirit of frontier survival and cultural conflict with breathtaking visuals and powerful performances. But beneath the surface of this historical drama lies a wilderness of secrets, from grueling actor transformations to daring filmmaking experiments and hidden inaccuracies. The movie's story off camera is just as captivating as what appeared on screen. Let's uncover 25 secrets about The Last of the Mohicans that have been hidden for decades. Number 1. Day-Lewis trains like a frontiersman. Stepping into the role of Hawkeye meant embracing the wilderness in ways few actors would dare. Determined to become the character inside and out, Daniel Day-Lewis prepared for months by living like an 18th century woodsman. His goal was to make every gesture, every survival skill, and every weapon movement feel completely authentic on screen. During his preparation, he learned how to hunt, fish, and cook his own meals using only tools that would have been available at the time. He carried a flintlock rifle with him everywhere, even to bed, so it would feel like second nature in his hands. He practiced fire starting with flint and steel, tracked animals through the woods, and even crafted his own shelters out of natural materials. The intensity of this training meant that by the time filming began, he didn't need to act when handling the tools of frontier life. He had become as comfortable in the wilderness as the character he played. Viewers watching him light fires, move through the forests, or handle weapons were not seeing stagecraft, but the results of months of real, hands-on survival training. This deep dedication helped create one of the most believable frontier heroes in cinema history. Number 2. Fort William Henry was hand-built. One of the film's most impressive feats wasn't created in Hollywood studios, but in the forests of North Carolina. To bring the infamous Fort William Henry to life, the crew constructed a massive replica entirely from scratch. Built along the shores of Lake James, this fort spanned nearly 40 acres and was crafted using timber specifically harvested for the production. The scale was staggering, complete with walls, towers, and interior structures that echoed the look and feel of an authentic 18th century stronghold. No shortcuts were taken. The fort wasn't just a facade. Many sections were built to function, allowing actors and cameras to move through them as if they were inside a genuine historical site. This monumental effort didn't come cheap, costing around $6 million to build, only to be dismantled once filming wrapped. Though its lifespan was short, the fort served as a living, breathing backdrop that gave the film a striking sense of realism. For audiences, the battles and sieges felt more immediate because they were staged in a fortress that truly existed, even if only for a brief moment in cinematic history. Number 3. Russell Means advocated for extras. Behind the scenes, one performer became a powerful voice for those who might have otherwise been overlooked. Russell Means, who played the proud Mohican leader Chingachgook, used his real-world activism to improve conditions for Native actors on set. With more than 175 Native extras hired for the production, many of whom had little prior film experience, he recognized that their contributions deserve respect. Means worked to secure better pay, housing, and treatment for these performers, ensuring that their cultural presence wasn't just decoration for the story, but acknowledged as vital to the film's authenticity. His efforts went beyond the screen, reflecting his lifelong commitment to advocating for Native communities and their fair representation. While audiences marveled at the sweeping scope of The Last of the Mohicans, much of that grandeur came from the presence of Native extras filling battlefields, villages, and camps. Thanks to Means, those participants were given more dignity and consideration than Hollywood productions of the past had often provided. His dual role as both actor and advocate added a deeper legacy to the film's production. Number 4. Filmed in North Carolina, not New York. The story may be set in the rugged wilderness of colonial New York, but the sweeping landscapes seen on screen actually belong to North Carolina. Michael Mann chose the Blue Ridge Mountains for their untamed beauty, capturing forests, rivers, and dramatic cliffs that match the grandeur of the tale. Lake James, Chimney Rock Park, and several waterfalls became the key stand-ins for the northern frontier. This choice wasn't just about scenery. North Carolina offered wide stretches of untouched land where massive sets like Fort William Henry could be built without modern structures spoiling the view. The area's dramatic rock faces and dense woods created a sense of isolation and danger that perfectly matched the film's themes of survival and conflict. For audiences, the illusion works so well that few realized the action wasn't filmed in upstate New York at all. Instead, the landscapes of North Carolina became forever tied to the last of the Mohicans, with fans still visiting the filming sites today to walk in the footsteps of Hawkeye, Cora, and Magua. Number 5. Eric Schweig's hard road to stardom. The actor who brought Uncas to life carried a personal story as dramatic as anything in the film. Eric Schweig's path to Hollywood was not straightforward. Before finding success on screen, he faced enormous challenges in his youth, including struggles with instability and personal hardship that could have easily kept him far from acting. Adopted at a young age, Schweig endured difficult circumstances growing up, but his resilience eventually led him to discover the arts as an outlet. He became involved in carving and painting, which gave him a foundation for creative expression. Acting followed, and by the early 1990s, he had transitioned into film work, securing one of his first major roles in The Last of the Mohicans. His performance as Uncas, the last Mohican son, brought a quiet strength and dignity to the story's most tragic figure. For audiences, it was easy to be swept up in the character's bravery, but knowing the obstacles Schweig overcame in real life adds another layer of meaning. His journey from hardship to recognition mirrors the resilience that The Last of the Mohicans itself portrays. Number 6. Composer's last-minute scramble. Music is often the heartbeat of a film, and The Last of the Mohicans nearly stumbled in this department. Composer Trevor Jones was originally tasked with creating the score, and his early work leaned heavily on electronic sounds. However, as filming progressed, director Michael Mann realized this approach didn't match the sweeping landscapes and emotional depth of the story. With the release date looming, Jones was asked to rework the score using a full orchestra. The tight schedule meant he couldn't complete every scene in time, so another composer, Randy Edelman, was brought in to help finish. The two musicians, working separately, created pieces that were ultimately blended into the final soundtrack. What could have been a disaster turned into a triumph. The music carried both elegance and urgency, perfectly complementing the romance and battle sequences. Instead of feeling disjointed, the collaboration produced one of the most memorable scores of the 1990s, a soundtrack that continues to be celebrated decades later. Number 7. Promontory came from a Scottish tun. One of the most unforgettable pieces of the soundtrack, the soaring theme, Promontory, didn't originate with the film at all. Its foundation came from a Scottish tune called The Gale, composed by folk musician Dougie MacLean in 1990. The melody carried a haunting, timeless quality that immediately fit the sweeping landscapes and emotional tension of The Last of the Mohicans. Adapted and expanded by composer Trevor Jones, the tune was transformed into a cinematic powerhouse. Layered with orchestration, drums, and strings, it evolved from a folk song into an anthem that perfectly underscored the film's climactic chase sequences. The use of The Gale gave the score a cultural depth that blended European musical traditions with the frontier setting, resulting in one of the most recognizable movie themes of the decade. Even today, Promontory is performed in concerts and sports events, its energy and emotion continuing to captivate audiences long after the film's release. Number 8. Oscar win for sound. Recognition from the Academy can be difficult to achieve, but The Last of the Mohicans managed to secure one of the highest honors in filmmaking. At the 1993 Academy Awards, the film won the Oscar for Best Sound, the only Academy Award it ever received. For director Michael Mann, it remains his sole Oscar-winning project to this day. The award highlighted the film's immersive soundscape, which brought the 18th century wilderness to life. The clash of muskets, the roar of cannons, the rush of waterfalls, and the piercing war cries blended seamlessly with the score to create a vivid experience. Every sound was carefully layered, drawing viewers directly into the chaos and intensity of frontier conflict. While the film was also praised for its cinematography and performances, it was the sound design that ultimately stood out as award-worthy. The win cemented The Last of the Mohicans as not just visually stunning, but also a technical triumph, remembered for the way it made audiences feel the environment as much as see it. Number 9. Clannad's song changed between versions. A haunting ballad became another signature of the film, but fans may not realize how many versions exist. The Irish band Clannad contributed the song "I Will Find You," which plays during key moments of The Last of the Mohicans. Depending on which release of the film you watch, the performance of this song changes in both length and even the languages used. In some versions, the track runs longer and features lyrics sung in English, while others shorten the performance or add Gaelic and Mohican lines. The variations reflect the adjustments made for different cuts of the film and different markets, each aiming to balance the song's emotional impact with pacing needs. No matter the version, "I Will Find You" remains one of the film's most memorable musical pieces. Its yearning tone mirrors the desperation of Hawkeye's vow to Cora, echoing the unforgettable promise: stay alive, no matter what occurs. The song's shifting forms only add to its mystique, making it a unique part of the movie's legacy. Number 10. Box office triumph. When The Last of the Mohicans premiered in 1992, expectations were uncertain. Historical dramas could be risky at the box office, yet the film's mix of romance, action, and sweeping visuals proved irresistible. With a budget of around $40 million, it went on to earn more than $143 million worldwide, making it one of the year's biggest successes. Audiences responded strongly to the combination of Daniel Day-Lewis's intense performance, Michael Mann's sweeping direction, and the unforgettable score. Word of mouth spread quickly, and the film found both critical and commercial momentum. It didn't just appeal to fans of history, it drew in mainstream audiences looking for spectacle and heart. This financial victory cemented the film as more than a cult favorite. It was a genuine box office hit that stood shoulder to shoulder with the top films of 1992. Decades later, its commercial success continues to be cited as proof that a period epic can still capture the imagination of audiences around the world. Number 11. Uniforms and flags were wrong. Historical accuracy was a major selling point for the film, but not everything on screen matched reality. Attentive viewers and historians have pointed out that several details of British uniforms and regimental flags were incorrect. Colors, patterns, and even entire units were portrayed in ways that didn't reflect the actual troops present during the French and Indian War. Some British regiments shown in the movie, including Highland units, were not even part of the historical events depicted. The flags carried into battle also displayed designs that didn't exist in the 18th century. While casual viewers may not have noticed, experts quickly caught the discrepancies. Despite these inaccuracies, the costume and set designs helped create a strong sense of immersion. The bright uniforms and fluttering banners lent the film a striking visual identity, even if they strayed from history. For many fans, the spectacle outweighed the details, but those who know the period well often highlight these errors as one of the film's most noticeable missteps. Number 12. Weapons fired without reloading. Battle scenes in The Last of the Mohicans are some of the most thrilling ever filmed, but they occasionally bend the rules of history. Muskets and flintlock rifles of the 18th century required time-consuming reloading after every shot, often taking up to 20 seconds under the best conditions. In the movie, however, characters unleash a seemingly endless stream of fire without ever pausing to reload. For the sake of pacing and excitement, the filmmakers allowed the action to flow continuously, even though it wasn't realistic. In reality, soldiers and frontiersmen would have needed to carefully measure powder, load the ball, and ram the charge home before firing again. This slowed pace could have made the battle sequences less cinematic, but was an unavoidable part of warfare at the time. While the non-stop gunfire heightened drama, historians note that it adds an element of fantasy to otherwise gritty sequences. The rapid shooting may not have been historically correct, but it gave audiences the edge-of-your-seat momentum that helped make the film so memorable. Number 13. Continuity goofs litter the film. Even a film as carefully crafted as The Last of the Mohicans couldn't escape the occasional slip. Sharp-eyed viewers have spotted several continuity errors scattered throughout the story. In one scene, for example, a broken tree branch can be clearly seen before a character even touches it, revealing that the take wasn't reset properly between shots. Other moments show characters moving in ways that don't quite match from one angle to another, or props that change position between cuts. These small inconsistencies don't ruin the flow of the film, but once noticed, they can be difficult to unsee. Like many productions on tight schedules, the film's editing sometimes sacrificed detail for speed. Still, these goofs remind audiences that even grand historical epics are made under real-world constraints. They offer a glimpse of the human side of filmmaking, where the rush of shooting and the pressure to capture perfection can leave small oversights behind. For some fans, these tiny flaws add a layer of charm, showing that even a masterpiece isn't immune to imperfection. Number 14. Invented geography at Lake George. The breathtaking vistas of the last of the Mohicans give the impression of strict historical accuracy, but not every location was faithful to reality. One of the most noticeable creative liberties comes during the siege of Fort William Henry. In the film, Hawkeye is shown watching the bombardment from across an island in Lake George, a landmass that doesn't actually exist. This fictional addition allowed director Mann to create more dramatic camera angles and staging. The false geography gave characters the perfect vantage point to witness the chaos of the fort under fire, something that would have been nearly impossible at the real location. For the story, it made sense, but for historians, it was a clear case of bending the truth. Viewers swept up in the drama likely never questioned the placement of cliffs, lakes, and islands. Yet, for those familiar with the terrain, the landscape of Lake George was noticeably reshaped by Hollywood imagination. The result may not have been authentic, but it offered a cinematic backdrop that remains one of the film's most striking visual moments. Number 15. Language blend on screen. One of the film's subtle strengths is its use of multiple languages to create authenticity. Instead of relying solely on English, the filmmakers incorporated French, Cherokee, Mohawk, and Delaware into dialogue, reflecting the cultural mix of the 18th century frontier. This multilingual approach gave scenes more texture, helping audiences sense the diversity and tension of the era. Hearing commanders bark orders in French while native leaders spoke their own languages grounded the story in a complex reality. It reminded viewers that the French and Indian War was not simply a clash between two powers, but a conflict involving many nations and cultures. Each group had its own voice, literally and figuratively, within the story. Though subtitles helped modern audiences follow along, the blend of languages added richness that made the film feel more immersive. It also highlighted the challenges of communication and alliances during wartime, where misinterpretations could change the course of events. This detail, while sometimes overlooked, is part of what gave The Last of the Mohicans its lasting depth. Number 16. Almost cast big names. Casting choices often shape a film's legacy, and The Last of the Mohicans could have looked very different. Several well-known actors were considered for roles before the final lineup was chosen. Andie MacDowell was among those in the running for Cora, while Brian Cox was considered for Colonel Monroe. French star Jean Reno was even mentioned for the role of Montcalm, the French commander. Each of these choices would have brought a very different flavor to the film. MacDowell's southern charm might have shifted Cora's dynamic, while Cox could have added more gravitas to the British leadership. Reno, with his strong presence, might have given Montcalm a more distinctly European edge. Ultimately, the actors who were cast delivered performances that helped define the movie's tone. Still, it's fascinating to imagine how alternate choices might have changed the film's chemistry. The almost cast names serve as a reminder of how close history sometimes comes to being written differently. Number 17. West Study's authentic roots. Few performances in the film are as powerful as West Study's portrayal of Magua, the fearsome Huron leader. Study brought intensity and nuance to the role, ensuring the character was not just a villain, but a fully realized figure shaped by loss and loyalty. His own heritage gave him a strong foundation for the part, as he is of Cherokee descent, though the character he played was Huron. This connection to native identity added weight to his performance. Study drew upon his background and understanding of cultural history to bring authenticity to Magua's motivations and actions. Rather than playing a one-dimensional adversary, he gave audiences a character driven by grief and a sense of injustice. Study's work has since been praised as one of the standout performances of his career. For many viewers, Magua became one of the most memorable figures in the film, thanks to the way Study merged his craft with cultural insight. His role remains a defining example of how a skilled actor can elevate even the darkest character. Number 18. Day-Lewis's psychological fallout. Living as Hawkeye pushed Daniel Day-Lewis to extremes, and those extremes followed him long after filming ended. His total immersion in the character left lasting effects, with reports suggesting he experienced vivid hallucinations and bouts of disorientation after production wrapped. The blurred line between himself and Hawkeye became difficult to separate once cameras stopped rolling. Friends and colleagues noted that his intense method acting had taken a toll. Having carried a flintlock rifle everywhere and spoken only in period-accurate dialect for months, Day-Lewis found it challenging to readjust to modern life. The transition back to everyday routines was slow, and the psychological strain was evident. This aftermath highlights the double-edged sword of his commitment. While it produced a performance widely considered one of his finest, it also showed the personal cost of his methods. For audiences, the depth of his portrayal was unforgettable, but for the actor, the experience left scars that lasted beyond the set. Number 19. Cinematographer's award-winning vision. The breathtaking look of the movie owes much to the eye of cinematographer Dante Spinotti. His mastery of light and composition gave the film its painterly quality, capturing forests, rivers, and battles with epic grandeur. Spinotti's work was so acclaimed that he earned the BAFTA Award for Best Cinematography, one of the highest honors in his field. From the glow of torchlit nights to the mist rising over mountain lakes, every frame was carefully designed to feel both realistic and poetic. The camera often lingered on wide shots, allowing nature itself to become a central character. This approach gave audiences the sense of being transported back in time, surrounded by wilderness. Spinotti's achievement wasn't just technical, it was emotional. His use of framing heightened the tension of battles and the intimacy of romance. The recognition he received was well-deserved, and his work remains one of the key reasons the film continues to be admired for its artistry. Number 20. Critical and audience love. While many historical dramas receive mixed responses, The Last of the Mohicans earned admiration across the board. Critics praised its sweeping scope, emotional power, and technical mastery. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an impressive score in the high 80s, and Metacritic places it solidly in the positive range. CinemaScore audiences gave it an A-, a sign of strong word-of-mouth appeal. Reviewers singled out Daniel Day-Lewis's performance, Michael Mann's direction, and the unforgettable soundtrack as standout elements. At the same time, casual moviegoers were swept up in the romance and action, ensuring it appealed to both art house and mainstream audiences. The combination of critical acclaim and audience enthusiasm is rare, especially for a period piece. This dual success helped solidify the film's reputation as one of the best historical dramas of the 1990s. Decades later, its ratings still reflect the enduring affection of viewers. Number 21. Director's unique crane shot. Filming the final cliffside sequence required more than just daring performances. It demanded innovation behind the camera. To capture the sweeping angles of the dramatic mountaintop confrontation, Michael Mann and his crew built a custom crane mounted on a truck. This remarkable piece of equipment could extend over 30 feet, allowing the camera to soar above the cliffs and then dive down to follow the actors. The result was a fluid, breathtaking perspective that gave the climax an epic scale. Rather than relying on visual effects, the filmmakers engineered a practical solution that placed audiences directly in the action. Every sweeping move of the camera emphasized the peril of the cliffside battle and the intensity of the moment. This crane shot has since become one of the film's most iconic visuals. It demonstrated Mann's commitment to achieving grandeur through practical innovation, reinforcing why The Last of the Mohicans still stands out as one of the most visually stunning historical dramas ever made. Number 22. Michael Mann's zipper joke. After months of battling the elements, building sets in the wilderness, and filming in harsh natural environments, director Michael Mann was more than ready to shift gears. Reflecting on the experience, he jokingly remarked that his next project would involve flat floors and people in zippers. The lighthearted comment revealed just how exhausting The Last of the Mohicans had been to make. The humor underscored the contrast between this epic period piece and Mann's usual modern settings, filled with sleek technology and urban landscapes. Spending so much time orchestrating battles in forests and climbing mountains had tested his endurance as much as the cast's. Mann's joke has become a small but memorable part of the film's lore, showing that even the most dedicated filmmakers sometimes crave simpler productions. It's a glimpse at the humanity behind the camera, reminding fans that epic cinema often comes with very real fatigue. Number 23. Alternate versions released. Over the years, fans have noticed that The Last of the Mohicans exists in several different forms. The original theatrical cut ran about 112 minutes, but a longer expanded director's edition later added more material. Still later, a definitive cut was released, coming in at 114 minutes. Each version features subtle differences in editing, pacing, and even dialogue. Some scenes run longer, while others are trimmed for tighter flow. Devoted fans often debate which version is the best, with some preferring the theatrical energy and others enjoying the expanded detail of the later editions. These multiple cuts have only added to the film's mystique, encouraging viewers to revisit it in different forms. For many, the changes are small, but they reveal just how carefully Mann continued shaping his vision long after the first release. Number 24. Novel versus film mythmaking. The story of The Last of the Mohicans has always straddled the line between history and myth. James Fenimore Cooper's original novel created romanticized images of Native Americans and frontiersmen that influenced generations of readers. When Mann adapted the tale, he followed in Cooper's footsteps by emphasizing adventure and romance over strict historical accuracy. The result was a film that feels deeply authentic but takes major liberties with actual history. Real events of the French and Indian War were reshaped, timelines altered, and cultural portrayals simplified for cinematic effect. Rather than a textbook lesson, the film offered a larger-than-life vision of frontier struggle. This myth-making isn't necessarily a weakness. For many viewers, the heightened story made the past feel immediate and emotional. Both Cooper's book and Mann's film demonstrate how storytelling can shape cultural memory, blending fact and imagination into something enduring. Number 25. The film's enduring legacy. More than 3 decades after its release, The Last of the Mohicans remains a landmark of historical cinema. Its sweeping music, powerful performances, and unforgettable landscapes continue to resonate with audiences. The combination of romance, tragedy, and action made it a film that stood apart from typical period dramas of its era. For actors like Daniel Day-Lewis and Wes Studi, it became a defining chapter in their careers. For Mann, it was proof that his meticulous style could be applied as effectively to history as to modern thrillers. And for audiences, it became an enduring classic that balanced spectacle with emotional depth. The film's legacy lies not only in what it depicted on screen, but also in the way it shaped expectations of historical epics for years to come. Its impact is still felt today, reminding us that a story of love, survival, and cultural conflict can transcend time and remain unforgettable. The Last of the Mohicans wasn't just a film. It was survival training, cultural battleground, and technical experiment rolled into one. From Day-Lewis's wilderness ordeal to the music that almost never came together, and from historical liberties to breathtaking cinematography, the movie's secrets reveal a production as adventurous as the story itself. These hidden facts remind us why the film endures as both a Hollywood spectacle and a work of lasting artistry. If you enjoyed uncovering this movie, hit like and subscribe for more untold stories. Which secret surprised you the most? The wilderness training, the soundtrack scramble, or the historical errors? Let us know in the comments.